What's going on, community? This is Brand. I'm the founder here at SanoraS. We're a great medical tourism company. We function primarily out of Colombia. We like to do most things through Bogota, but we do a whole spread of things. We're sort of a boutique booking service or a concierge. Just kind of depends on what you need and what we're doing that day. I do have someone very special with me that is now part of our team. He's coming on as our director of the sports division. Primarily the athlete care, but a lot of things around stem cells and a few other things as well. So without any further ado, this is Professor Jay. How you doing, brother?
Hey, I'm doing great, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And I see that you're traveling as well. You're not actually filming in a forest, I take it?
Yeah, I am actually traveling a little bit. I am not actually in the forest. Yeah, for sure.
Makes sense, man. So again, Professor, I'm assuming that you must be a school teacher and all that kind of good stuff. Why don't you give everybody just a little bit of a background on you, man?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, thanks for having me. So I am Professor Jakes. I'm a jiu-jitsu black belt. I've been instructing and teaching for the last 6 or 7 years. Start with Red River Jiu-Jitsu out in North Texas. I started with like a lot of instructors, started with kids classes, and then after a while moved on to doing the adults classes, and now I do adult classes as well as our competition program. Um, I started training 2008, 2009, about 17 years ago or so. So been a little while. But yeah, so Professor Jay, because I've just been an instructor for quite a while now.
Right, right. Yeah, it's always I always like to tease that as the professor side of things. No, he's just a school teacher. Don't worry about him. No, that ear thing, that's totally normal, right? I'm surprised you're able to get the earbud in.
Yeah, so you're going to see throughout the entire conversation, every couple seconds, I'm going to do one of these and just to adjust it. Yeah, because these small headphones do not stick in very well. Yeah, cough layer does not bode well for easy small headphones.
Yeah, yeah. The cauliflowers do scare away predators though, so that's a
They
fun
do.
pro side.
They do. Especially not being a very tall, big guy. This is the most intimidating thing I have.
Absolutely. So again, I know you come from a big sports background. That's what initially kind of got us on this path of wanting to bring you aboard. I know you've done a little bit of insurance and things like that, but primarily I know that you really just hate jobs and love athletes and sports side of things. So that's really why you're here. You want to maybe get a little touch on and kind of the specifics on why you wanted to work with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So like you said, I've done a little bit of sales. Primarily when I first got started, was mobile sales. That was kind of my major career for first part of my life. Which it was okay, wasn't bad, but like I said, it was a normal job, and nobody really likes normal jobs. And but I'd always been training, even when I started that. And so somewhere around 2013, 14 or so, my mid 20s, I'd already, been training mixed martial arts and jiu-jitsu specifically for a long time. And I really found that that was my passion. That's what I really wanted to do. And so slowly but surely, I kind of found ways to continue to do less and less regular job work and more jiu-jitsu. And so, yeah, for training for, like I say, close to 2 decades, I've seen everything you can see in the combat sport world of, guys coming and going due to injuries that they didn't get taken care of, didn't get taken care of on time, weren't able to get taken care of due to a number of reasons. And so many people lose out on the benefits of being able to train combat sports due to injuries because it takes a toll on your body. But so that's something that I found this company was really giving a high quality option for people was to actually get themselves taken care of because that's for me one of the worst things would be getting an injury that I couldn't get dealt with and then I wouldn't be able to train anymore. So that's just something I found SanoraS was hitting that niche market to help them get taken care of.
It's kind of funny. We were almost hitting it by accident. The way we have done everything primarily through Sura, which is a godsend. Those guys are fantastic. Very
Fantastic.
happy that we're partnering with them. Again, they're massive. For those that don't know, Sura is the largest, basically, healthcare provider of every variation here in Colombia. They do from insurance. So like when people come down with us, whether it's through Professor J on the sports side or on the aesthetics or fertility or any of the other things that we offer, they're the ones who offer that our travelers insurance goes through. A lot of even the booking of the individual healthcare providers goes through Sura. They're massive. They're sort of like the backbone. We have a lot of other options around them, but they're the ones who really gave us a lot of this cool stuff. And that's sort of what led into discussions between me and Professor Jay. I'm kind of talking out of school here, but between us and realizing that there's a bigger need there. So I've done some boxing. I've trained with Jay quite a bit. And just through some of those, conversations recently, we realized like, man, like, between stem cells, and then we can talk a little bit. We'll leave his name out of here. Obviously, we don't get us any HIPAA violations. But a gentleman you kind of spoke to was able to get it taken care of, but the way he was able to, and finally able to kind of get through, and the cost side of it. So we can kind of run through him. I think he's a decent example. Again, we're just going to call him Steve for the purpose of the argument here. But roll through a little bit with Steve. That was kind of one of the genesis conversations that we had.
Yeah, absolutely. So it was just kind of heartbreaking as an instructor to him. He said he's one of my students. But just hearing kind of from beginning to end how it happened was just kind of heartbreaking. So he ended up needing a shoulder surgery, fairly minor shoulder surgery. But he complained about having that injury and that pain for like a year to year and a half, but never wanted to get it actually like looked at and treated, because we all know how terrible going through the American medical system is. And so he went through that pain.
And I can touch on here, this guy actually had insurance as well.
Yes. So he's a blue collar worker, HVAC, had like solid, decent insurance, and still didn't want to go get it looked at for a year plus. And I mean, imagine the injury that requires shoulder surgery and having that pain for a year while still working full time.
As an HVAC. Yeah. As an HVAC guy.
Full time.
He's not sitting around.
Right. He's not sitting in a cubicle. Absolutely. And so after about a year or plus, he finally goes and gets it looked at. And then after he gets it looked at, gets the date to actually go in and have the surgery. And it's like 2 to 3 months later. So he still has, after he gets it looked at and they're like, hey, we're going to do the surgery, he still has to wait 2 to 3 months before he even has the surgery done. Finally gets the surgery done. And throughout the entire process of choosing the cheapest option everywhere he could. So one of the things was, hey, we have, hospital A and hospital B. Hospital B is going to be a little bit cheaper. So of course he chooses that. So kind of going back to our product is that he's also kind of being forced to choose the cheapest option every step of the way, not the higher quality option every step of the way. Finally gets done, and then he's out of pocket $6,000, $6,000, with good quality insurance, and still having to wait over 3 months to get the surgery performed. And after he gets done, the rehab they want him to go through is another 30 visits, and they want about $50 per visit. So even after getting the surgery, if he would have gone through the full rehab, that's another $1,500 they want out of his pocket. So he's looking at $7,500 with insurance covering everything and choosing the cheapest option every step of the way. And so that was one of those kind of like I said, kind of genesis moments where I was like, man, these guys need better options. I've thought about it for a long time, but until SanoraS kind of came up and I thought like, oh, there is actually a better option. It never really clicked until this kind of moment. And I was like, yeah, these guys need better options to get taken care of.
Yeah. Something else that, and I think just kind of I think you did a great job kind of working through, Steve, in the context here of, something that we had worked through that we're like, man, like we have a better option here as well, is the time. Like that guy got I know from the story, he got very little time actually with doctors. He was dealing with middlemen the whole time, trying to get things scheduled, which doctor to go to. Like you said, cost is always a factor. Like it goes without saying. Everyone has a budget, right? Like your budget may be really high, but you have a budget.
Right.
But when we're still talking about a huge amount of money, to not be able to make decisions based on care is like, that's a big deal. I'm not saying that you don't decide to do certain things based on cost. Like, of course we do, but to be, it's one thing maybe when we're talking about aesthetics, maybe talking about doing things like in phases, but again, I mean, this is a quality of life thing. When you're talking about a shoulder injury, let alone for, a combat athlete, which is why he was, close to your heart. But like you said, an HVAC guy, that's a big deal. Right.
Right.
So I think that that's an interesting side of some of the stuff that we're looking at doing in the medical tourism side now. Is some things in the US have gotten just so out of hand that this isn't just doing the aesthetics and doing breast augmentation or rhinoplasty and a lot of the things that we do again on the aesthetic side. But there's a lot of things now that even if, again, we would have been significantly cheaper overall in cost, but the amount of time that you'd get with your provider on something like this, as well
Right.
as just being able to sort of go through the process in a different way of like care and outcomes first, I think would be a really big difference for someone like Joe, especially considering the guy had insurance, man. Like, again, when you talk about the amount of cost that he's essentially spending to get to a $7,500 sort of result is very expensive as well.
Absolutely. And just a quick note, he talked about when he went to do the rehab that like he could tell the every time he went in, one, he was dealing with a different person. So he didn't even have like the same care provider every time he went in
Right.
to do rehab. And then they seemed new, like they were like look through a book to figure out what exercise he needed to perform. So even then he didn't feel confident that he was paying to get decent quality service. And so again, it just goes back to, like you said, he was making decisions based on what he could afford, not what he needed. And so he didn't really have an option of choosing higher quality, better care, or honestly, competent care, just because he couldn't afford it. This was just what he had to go through, what he had to deal with.
And something that we've seen again through a few things, both I don't want to go down too down some of these certain wells here, but sometimes people don't know what good care is, and they think that they've gotten competent care in a lot of ways. But if they're not
Mm-hmm.
careful, if they haven't done research, sometimes they'll get a good outcome when they could have had a great outcome, or essentially being like back to 100%. And that's something big, again, on the things that
Absolutely.
you're going to focus on with us on the sports side. Again, like we talk about is it Tommy Jones? I can't remember the pitcher that they call that they get the injury from the elbow, from the repetitive motion. The golfers, the tennis guys, those guys can get a good result and be back pretty functional. But one is, how long did it take them? Again, for
Right.
people that are very, very involved, like even if you sort of say we get to the same place and the cost is the same, if we get there 6 months faster, like 6 months makes a massive difference, man. Like, we want to get back to it. We want to get back to deadlifting 500 pounds. We want to get back to, what is it, folding laundry with people still in the clothes on the
Yes,
jujitsu
sir.
side. Back to tennis, or throwing your kids around, or again back to being able to competently work in a healthy way. Again, for someone like Steve, if we're talking about the results, time back, being 100% healthy, a lot of those guys want to work that overtime. There's another cost to essentially his like lack of work capability at a certain point here.
Right.
Um,
And I think
and
that's,
he,
you touched on
yeah,
something just real quick. 'Cause I thought it was a good point of like, if you're not experienced, you don't know that the difference between a good, care provider and like a great care provider and your outcome. And so like in the combat sport world, we always tell people, it's like, when you're traveling, check out new gyms. One, it's just a good experience. You get to meet,
of
new
course,
people, same interest and all that. But you also get a feel on your home gym. If it's the first time you've ever been into a gym, you may think, oh, this is a good gym. And then you go somewhere else and you see, oh, that gym sucks. And you're like, oh, my gym really is good. Or the opposite. You go to a really high quality gym and then you go, oh, my gym actually kind of sucks. That encourages you to find somewhere else. But if you've
of course.
never seen another gym, you don't actually know how to like gauge the quality of your gym. And so I think same thing. If you don't do any research on the quality of care providers, then you don't really know. Like I said, if I could have been rehabbed in 3 months versus I could, took me 6 months to get back to shape. And so especially, like in any athletic world, just even like I said, just quality of life for a guy who's working. But especially if you're a competitive athlete to any degree, 3 months of training or degree of training makes a huge difference. If you're like, hey, I've got a tournament coming up in 5 months. Well, if you're not going to be healthy for 6 months, that's a big difference. And it's like, hey, you'd have been healthy in 3 months, and then you have 2 more months of solid, sharp training to do. So yeah, that ability of having high quality care so you can get back to doing what you're doing much quicker is so important to people, especially athletes, everybody in general, but especially athletes, like, because they're so focused on improvement, that 1% better every day. Like, that's a huge deal for them.
Play as well. And then the more we talked, the more we thought. So just kind of as an overview for some of the people watching, who is it that should reach out to yourself? I know that you'll be available. Again, they can just go through the website, send in a contact form.
Of
You can
course.
just write in the notes there. And we'll change a little of that up now that we have a few people that people may want to reach out to directly. But who is it that should be reaching out? Who is it you're looking to engage with? Sort of like who should be the most excited that we have you on the team now?
So of course I want to say everybody, if you have anything that comes along with our services and you want to reach out to us, absolutely. But so say, as being a, martial artist for the last 17, 18 years or so, that's definitely where my heart and my expertise of knowledge is going to come from. So like I said, of asking the right questions to you and to your doctor. So that's definitely where my heart lies. Is going to be the martial arts, the combat sports community as a whole. But I don't want that to have anybody who's in any form of athletics to not reach out to me. So if you are, if you're a lifter, if you're a runner, if you play baseball, basketball, American football or soccer, as we Americans call it, whatever it is. If you're in any form of athletic endeavor or just a healthy person who has a athletic hobby, feel free to reach out to me. We'll get you a consultation and we'll get you taken care of. So obviously my expertise is going to lie mostly in the combat sports realm, but I don't want to persuade anybody from not reaching out to me if you have any questions or concerns. And for the right choice, we'd love to take care of it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's a big part of it, man. Just where we focus and where we lean on makes a big difference. Again, that's sort of what got us down the journey to ended up, finally forming, SanoraS as it is now. And so, man, we're just great to have you, man. Any sort of final thoughts? Again, we touched on some of your expertise. While we're happy to have you on the team, again, for everyone paying attention, again, just as kind of a recap, Professor Jay is now the director of sports, but he is still going to be the point of contact for all the athletes that want to come through. Even other aesthetics or things like that as well. Obviously, he's happy to provide, but he's sort of going to be the point man, doing some outreach and a lot of other things in the sports community, especially around jiu-jitsu and combat sports. Any sort of closing thoughts, man?
First off, just thank you so much for the call, just to be able to get my name, my face out here to anybody who wants to reach out. Thanks so much for bringing me on board the team. I'm really excited to be a part of this. Like I said, I've been training for so long, and I've seen so many of these types of people not get taken care of. So I'm really, really grateful to be able to be in a position to try and actually get them, taken care of, get them help. Besides that, no. If you guys are ever in North Texas, look up Red River Jiu-Jitsu. Come and train. I'm there all the time when I'm not handling SanoraS business. So anybody in the combat sport world, I'd love for you to come and train with me. And then, man, if there's anything we can do for any of you guys out there, please reach out and say feel free to reach out to me. If it's not my wheelhouse, I will just direct you over to the rest of the team at SanoraS.
Awesome. All right, man. Guys, appreciate the community. Appreciate y'all staying here all the way till the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. My manager told me I'm supposed to do that. It's my wife. Make sure you guys do. It makes us look good. Appreciate y'all. Come reach out. Shout at me or Professor Jay. We're happy to talk to you guys.